Hi, this is Jolynn Lutz from One Heart TV, and I am back. Why, you say? Well, I went to Egypt, and now I'm back here doing interviews with one of my favies in the world, back with Zahrah on health tips through the holiday. Welcome, Zahrah.
Yeah, welcome back. You look like you had a pretty awesome trip. And so, yeah, I'm glad to be here with you in this wonderful holiday season we're in, talking about how we can be healthy. That's one of my favorite topics.
Well, I want to first congratulate you on Field to Heal and emotional healing. I saw this morning on Facebook. You're going to be one of the facilitators, I hear, for the online
Yeah,
cancer journey.
yeah, I'm really excited about that. It seems like a really wonderful program. Dr. Liz Burkhart, she's a therapist and licensed and trained in a number of things and very familiar with the journey through cancer herself as well. And so she has created a 3-month online program that's going to be focusing on the emotional and spiritual aspect of healing. And I'm coming in to teach some of the more nutritional aspect of it and talk about food and diet and healing cancer. And so tying some of the food and physical aspect of it in. I know she's going to be doing some like classes with movement and breath work and things like that as well. There's a whole program. I think it's weekly. There'll be a couple classes weekly for 3 months. And so if anybody wants to check that out, you can see the link to that on my personal Facebook page. I'll be posting it on my own website. And so the link right now is on my personal Facebook page. I'll be putting it on my website and sharing it other places too. And so will
When,
Dr. Liz.
when does that happen? When
It
does it
starts
begin?
January
Okay.
2026.
So
Yep.
great. After our conversation, maybe you could give me the link. I will put it also in the
Okay.
video
Yeah.
so that people can check
Yeah.
that out. And to refresh everybody's memory on Zara, she healed herself of cancer how many years ago?
It's been 16 years.
Okay. So Zara knows a little bit about the subject, and we're going to go in though into the holidays. We're probably already discombobulated, we're probably already stressed, and we're probably eating horribly, Zara. What do you say about this?
Oh, I hope you're not eating horribly. I say that to everyone. We can still enjoy a lot of the wonderful foods of the holidays and do it in a healthy way, but it is a time where we're busier in general. And, it's a lot of times there's traveling or hosting or going to a lot of gatherings and parties. And there's definitely a lot of temptations at this time of year, a lot of the things that could throw us out of a balanced health, if we overdo those things, whether that be alcohol or sugar or, big meals and lots of snacking and things like that. And then mix that in with, being on the go and maybe not sleeping as well or just making some different changes during that time because of all the busyness and the holiday excitement that happens. And so,
That's a
but we
good way to
can.
put it.
Yeah.
Holiday excitement. So I had heard a long time ago, and I kind of believe this, but that you put the combination of eating more sugar than normal because it's that time of the year you're going to try the cookies or the fudge. Then you've got the stress layered on top. Does this drop you in your immune system?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, sugar in the form of, say, refined sugars like cane sugar, corn syrup, or even an overabundance of some of the natural sugars. Not so much fruit, but like, say, you were eating like a lot of maple syrup or a lot of date sugar, even though they're more natural, it has an effect on you. But most detrimental is going to be the refined sugars like cane sugar and corn syrup, which, cane sugar commonly is being used a lot during the holiday season. Think of all the pies and the cookies and all those things. And of course, people could use something different, than just cane sugar, but that is very common. And so that has a strong effect on the immune function, but not in a good way. It has a tendency to lower the immune function, create a lot of inflammation, can lead towards insulin resistance, and overall, it can just really zap your energy, by being so stressful on the system. And so, a little bit of a sweet, maybe, balanced with a lot of other things and good hydration and healthy lifestyle isn't going to be that damaging. But if you're overindulging and, daily getting into the pies and cookies and cakes and all those things, during this time of year, that definitely it can take a huge toll in a season when we're already prone towards kind of picking up more things as the sunlight gets lower and we have longer days and more darkness, or I mean, shorter days and more darkness. That has an effect on us. And that's when we see more viruses and other issues proliferating stronger than in the summer months. And so we're already in a time when we're prone towards some more contagious things. And then we're gathering together and then eating a lot of the things that might lower our immune system as well. So it's definitely something to keep in mind.
Right, right. When you say inflammation, what do you mean by that when the sugar hits the system?
Well, inflammation can show up in a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways that inflammation affects us. I mean, it could literally be inflaming our tissues, our cells, it can be inflaming our organs and creating more stress on the system. And so inflammation can show up as a headache. It can show up as puffiness. It can show up as achiness and pain. I mean, most pain, unless there's like directly something pressing, like say on a nerve or on a part of the body, and that's the cause of the pain, most pain is related to inflammation to some level. Most headaches are related to inflammation. And a lot of chronic illnesses have an inflammatory factor. That's a big deal with, say, diabetes. And I said how inflammation affects, certain things. It can also, in like diabetes with insulin resistance and more of the blood sugar issues, there tends to be a higher level of inflammation. We see that in cases of cancer and many other things. A lot of issues people are dealing with will improve. The symptoms will improve by lowering inflammation. And so there's a lot of foods that increase inflammation. Stress can create inflammation. Too many toxins that aren't getting cleared out of the system can do that. There's many things that create inflammation. But on my blog, there's an article that I wrote that I recommend for a lot of people that I help in my private practice to go read, and it's called The Anti-Inflammatory Diet. And it's all about, it's not really a diet plan, but it goes over how inflammation can affect us and the detriments of that. And also, it has a long list of inflammatory foods that if we're trying to lower inflammation and heal the body, we want to really reduce or eliminate those foods. And then there's a long list of very anti-inflammatory foods, foods that introduce and do more of that are going to help us decrease that inflammation so we can feel better and heal better in our bodies.
Yeah, and this is the time of the year for sure when all of this kind of bubbles up for us.
Mhm.
One of the things that I kind of partake in my own life is that if I want the sweets, maybe just have a little bite of it or something so you don't
Mhm.
feel like you're missing out. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
that's one way.
definitely.
Yeah.
I know for myself, with my previous health issues, I mean, I did have cancer. I had a lot of other things going on. And so many years ago, I started to become very reactionary to sugar. And I would eat sugar and I would have all kinds of reactions, get dizzy, get lightheaded, I would have heart palpitations. It affected my energy. It affected my digestion. And it got to the point where it's like I just realized I had to cut it out. And if I wanted to heal my body of the many things that were going on, I needed to eliminate the sugars. And again, I'm not talking about fruit. Fruit is in a very different category. It's a whole different thing than, say, the concentrated sugars like cane sugar, corn syrup, and some of those others like agave, maple syrup, etc. Even the healthy ones, too much of it can be a problem. And so I had to cut all those out, and because of that, I've really maintained a mostly sugar-free diet for many, many years. And so, but sometimes I'll want to try a little taste of something. Maybe I'm at, a gathering where someone made something, baked something. I'll have a bite or two of it and I can taste it because I don't eat things with sugar added to them hardly ever. It's a little bite or two is usually enough. It's very sweet. It's almost overwhelming in a sense for me sometimes because I don't eat those things. Like we keep a lot of fresh fruit on hand and I'll have like dates and things like that. And so if I really want to eat something sweet, sometimes I'll just have a date or maybe some berries or something like that to satisfy that sweet craving. I'd also say, though, there are ways that we can make desserts that are lower glycemic and still taste really good, using alternative ingredients. And so a lot of baked goods and desserts, they're using refined flours like white flour, which is also very inflammatory. It can also increase your glucose levels, and too much of that can also lead to insulin resistance and blood sugar problems. And so we could replace that. We could replace it with a whole grain flour, or, and a lot of those will have like wheat flour. And so for a lot of people like myself, I don't eat gluten. I'm very reactionary to gluten, and it's a very, very inflammatory food as well. So, there are gluten-free flours, and there's a lot of flours we can use in place of gluten and in place of white processed flours, almond flour, green banana or plantain flour, a brown rice flour. And so there's all sorts of things like that we can replace, the classical, more processed flours with. And as far as sugar goes, there's monk fruit. Monk fruit's a wonderful sweetener that it's comes in a granulated form quite often. You can get it in syrups and powdered sugar versions of it, but like a granulated sugar form. And this is from a fruit that comes from Asia that has very, very sweet flavor, but does not affect the blood sugar. It doesn't increase the blood glucose. And so it's a very safe one for diabetics or people who are avoiding sugar, like myself. I usually use monk fruit. Like if I want to add an extra sweetener to something, I'll use a little monk fruit. It's commonly mixed with other things. And so I like to get it with allulose, which is also a plant-based or plant-derived sweetener that doesn't affect your blood sugar. It's not artificial and it's very safe. And so we can bake with these. You could make cookies and cakes and sweetbreads and all kinds of things using different flours and different sweeteners like this. I've done that for years. When my kids were younger, I used to make, treats for them, maybe banana bread or cookies or a cake or whatever. And we'd use, alternative flours, and I'd usually use like a monk fruit sugar instead of regular sugar. Never got complaints about it. Usually went over well with the kids and their friends. And so, I've baked a lot like that. I'm not a big baker, but that's definitely something that, can be done in place of those things that each person can do, on their own. But then again, when you're going to a gathering where somebody else made something, yeah, maybe just having a couple bites of it instead of having, several pieces of pie and some more ice cream and cookies and candies, all in the same night.
Yeah. You know, and also the big part of it, let's move on to the chunk of stress. How much
Mm.
does that play on the body in terms of this time of the year? Yeah.
Stress any time of the year is a very dangerous thing. Very dangerous thing. Is something I talk a lot with the people that I help who are on healing journeys that come and meet with me and get help for their health. Is one of the big things I talk to all of them about is really adopting practices to decrease stress. Stress, if you have an increase in your cortisol levels or, other aspects of stress, that definitely can lead to inflammation. It can lead to a lot of issues. It can affect your nervous system, and it can affect many different processes in the body. And there are so many diseases that link back to stress being a potential factor: heart disease, cancer, many other things. And I've seen it many times where people were doing well and we're seeing a lot of good progress on their healing journey, and something happens that causes a lot of stress, and suddenly they're having complications and things are going in the opposite direction. And so I think it's really important in the world we live in where things are really busy and there's a lot of pressure on us a lot of the times. We need to also balance that with practices that help us decrease stress. And then now here's this time of the year where we have several holidays close together, and these holidays are usually times when we get together with family. Family's amazing, family's beautiful, but it's also, for some people, it can be stressful. Not
Yeah.
all families are fully healthy and functional, or maybe there's a person that, you don't really get along with, and now you have to, be in a small space with them and learn how to navigate that in a good way. It can be stressful for a lot of people. Or the pressure of just getting everything together, making the meals, hosting, coming up with what you need to give presents if you're a present giver. Just all of that, which should be fun, can be very stressful. So trying to have some practices that help you decrease stress is so important, because it really does have a strong effect on your well-being and on your health, mental and physical health.
I know two of the things that really help me through this time. Usually it's meditation. I do it every day. Dr. Joe Dispenza is incredible. And I get up early to do it because it's for me. And then I also love playing my music, and
Yeah.
I think doing your passion, doing what you love,
Yes,
can
I agree.
center you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think there's many ways to help manage stress. And that's actually one of the things I say to people a lot is whatever it is that makes you feel really good and calm and find peace inside, It doesn't have to be something, that's the classic way to decrease stress. Maybe for you it's like you said, playing music. Maybe for someone else it's dancing. For me, it's like getting out in nature, getting movement happening, moving my energy helps me bring down those stress levels, doing some deep breathing exercises to reset the nervous system. There's a lot of different things. You could take a bubble bath, watch a funny movie, sit and sing with friends or meditate, do some yoga, exercise. There's so many things that we can use. And so, whatever it is, whatever it resonates to you and that helps you feel good and calms excess energy down and helps you find peace inside, that's going to be something that is really important and helpful.
Or pet your animals or love on them.
Yeah, yeah, that's a big one for me. I love my animals. My
You have
chickens, even my chickens make me laugh. I think they're some of the funniest creatures. Just going out and sometimes I'll just sit there and watch them, and it's very calming, But someone else might not enjoy that. So whatever it is that you enjoy, do it. I have a friend who told me that one of her most calming, stress-reducing things is painting rocks. She likes to go find rocks and paint them, and it's kind of like a meditation. Art can be like that. It can be like a meditation if you're really focusing and you're being really present and mindful with that moment and letting go of everything else for that time. And so, whatever it is, do it, and especially during this time of year. For me, like if I'm at a gathering with a lot of people and I start to get kind of overwhelmed, maybe there's a lot of conversation, a lot of activity, a lot of energy. Sometimes I just step out and go on a short walk. Or
Mm,
sometimes I just step out and maybe step into another room where nobody else is and have a few minutes to just sit, ground myself, and breathe deeply for a few minutes and just reset the energy. So it doesn't have to be a big strenuous thing. And you can even do some of this, like I said, in the midst of the gathering if you need to calm yourself down. If,
breathing, one,
Mhm.
just
Breathing.
remember to
Breathing's a big
breathe.
one. Breathing's a big one, and there's actual physiological changes that happen when we do specific types of breathing. And there's all kinds of breathings coming from the yoga tradition, like with pranayama, but even just like sitting calmly and breathing in through the nose slowly and allowing your whole abdomen to fill, and then really slowly breathing back out through the nose. And just doing that for a few minutes has been shown to reset the nervous system and calm down the stress levels in the body. And so it's not just an idea and it's not just the fact that you're just sitting there. It really is a medicine for stress. And so that's a really important and good one that I think everyone can utilize. We're all breathing. If we're
Yeah.
alive, we're breathing.
Yeah.
So we can utilize our breath for improving certain conditions.
I was just talking to someone last night at a little gathering, and she's been losing weight, which I'm really happy for. I told her to start watching these videos. She'd gain
Mhm.
great insight. But
Good.
we did talk about breath, and I told her, there's this whole thing with nitric oxide, the
Mhm.
difference being that we don't breathe re- we don't really consciously breathe at all. It's very shallow, very quick because we're in this mode of run, run, run. But that slow two in and out throughout the day can really invigorate us. And
Uh-huh.
we don't
Yeah.
know subtly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's breath work became very important to me many years ago in the midst of my own health crisis and a lot of the health issues that I was dealing with. I started to have a lot of anxiety and I would have panic attacks sometimes. And I learned intuitively, actually. It was just started to be intuitively teaching. I would get this kind of intuitive message of how to start breathing. And it got me very interested in learning more about breath work because of the effects it had on me to be able to manage those moments when I would feel that anxiety raising. And ultimately, since then, I really haven't had major issues with anxiety. If I start to feel stress come up or I get anxious about something, that's one of my first things I do is even just take a few minutes and just go into some deeper breathing. And anybody who spends time with me in a kind of closed space, they usually start to see that, I do that kind of often, just regulating my system with breath. And one of my favorite things when I lay down at night is just to sit and just do some really deep, calming breathing. And it's not because there's anything wrong. It's just I found that that helps me just get deeper into that like sleep state and have a better sleep by practicing some of that. So I do a lot of breath work throughout my day, and I think it's a really helpful tool, and we can do it almost anywhere. That's the thing. You can do it in the car. You can do it at work.
and it's for free. Zara?
Exactly. It's for free. Like I said, if you're alive, you're breathing,
I know.
so use your breath. It's a very helpful tool. And so especially as we're talking around stress and, being around situations that can be stressful, that's an easy thing. Your breath goes with you wherever you are. You could step into the bathroom and shut the door for a few minutes to get away from everyone and just do some breathing for a few minutes, go back
Especially you
out, refresh.
mothers. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I remember going to a homeopathic doctor here locally, and he put one of these gadgets on, which was connected to a TV screen. I actually was watching these beautiful, surreal, lovely
Hmm.
landscapes. And they said, now start breathing in and breathing out. I had a rhythm. And then they said, do you want to see your heart at the same time? And I said, yeah. So they flipped the screen. And there was my heart beating so beautifully. And then they said, now think of something exciting, in your life. Sure enough, that heart went like this. And then they said, now let's
Yeah.
go back to that breathing. And then right in front of me, Zara, it I saw what it was doing with my heart. And that
Hmm.
was a beautiful thing too. So
Yeah. Yeah.
breathing. Okay, let's recap this. So to get everybody on board through this holiday, um, they can obviously take a look at their breath throughout the day, just remind
Mhm.
themselves. Two is maybe different choices with some sugar. You said monk fruit is one of
Yeah,
them.
monk fruit. Monk fruit's a great sugar replacement, a lot healthier, better for maintaining better healthy blood glucose levels, reducing inflammation, and just in general healthier,
And,
healthier than sugar. Sugar's
and
not that healthy of a
fruit,
thing.
fruit's okay.
Fruit
Fruit's
is fine. Yeah, fruit's one of the healthiest foods there is, I believe. At least I've seen, a lot of good benefits over the years for myself and others with fruit. I find a lot of people sometimes afraid of fruit. I hear ideas around people should not eat fruit. I don't believe that. I believe that fruit is very alkalizing. It has a gentle cleansing aspect. It has a lot of fiber and moisture, which keeps the blood sugar at a better place. So it's not like other sugars. And most fruit is very high in antioxidants and contain many disease-fighting compounds like polyphenols and ellagic acid and all kinds of things that can help us stay well. So I don't recommend to go on an all-fruit diet, but including fruit and going for fruit before you go for cookies, I think is a way healthier thing for satisfying that sweet craving. And I'd also say in this time of holiday eating, you have a choice not to overeat also. You can enjoy the foods, but don't overeat them. Maybe go on a walk after you eat, and maybe to balance it out, instead of choosing like sugary drinks or alcohol, maybe have water, lemon water, sparkling water, herbal tea, or something like that, and just balancing, this time of year. It's okay to have some of the things that we want to have this time of year. If you want to enjoy some of the meals or the treats, just trying not to overdo it and trying to balance that out, balancing the stress, get some movement in. Maybe if you have a big meal, the next day, maybe skip breakfast. It's okay to skip a meal and allow your body to just like process all of that and let it move through before you have another meal, and stay hydrated. Drink a lot of water. That helps a lot too, to help keep your body in a better, less inflamed and healthier state. And so just, making better choices in general, it can really help.
So if we do feel a little bloated, a little whatever, can we throw fasting on at
Oh
the
yeah.
end of this? And what would you suggest? How would someone do a clean out kind of fasting
Well,
that's short and sweet, maybe?
yeah, I think, it's going to depend on the person. But, even just taking half a day of not eating anything or a full day of not eating anything, most people, there are, I would say some cases this isn't necessarily possible or the best idea always, but most people will be fine taking a day off eating. So if you're able to do that, that's a great way to just kind of let your system rest, your digestive system rest, and allow your body to come back into better balance. And, like I said, even a half a day or skipping a meal here and there. Personally, I do intermittent fasting every day. I don't eat breakfast. And so I'm eating usually in like a 7 to 8 hour window of time and fasting for the rest of it. And there's a lot of evidence about how healthy that is for us and all the ways it can improve health, reduce inflammation, increase immune function. You get some gentle detox happening when we're not eating for a prolonged period of time, say 16 hours or something like that, or longer, like a full day or several days. the body goes into what's called autophagy, where it starts scavenging toxins, dead cells, pathogens, and cleaning them out. And so it's a wonderful way to gently clean the body and improve your health. It's been shown to have really positive effects on the immune function. And let's say you're a person who, at this point in your life, you don't do very well with extended fasting, like say for a full day or longer. Maybe you have blood sugar drops or things that just kind of prevent you from doing that. Well, doing some juice fasting, just drinking is, and I'd go more with pressed vegetable juices and things like coconut water and a little bit of fruit juices too. But that's a wonderful way to really give your digestive system a break. You're not really digesting as much as you are just kind of assimilating and yet getting a lot of nutrients. And it can be a really, really healthy way. And so if you do a lot of vegetable juicing, you'll get a lot of minerals and a lot of nutrients that way. And the fruits have some good things for us too, but just trying to be careful not to overdo fruit juices. When we remove the fibers, it definitely can have more of an effect on our blood sugar. So you can also put back in a little bit of the pulp to balance that out though as well. So
Wonderful.
juice fasting is always an option as well. It's a really healthy, wonderful way to get, like I said, some gentle cleansing, digestive rest, kind of refresh the system, but not go on a full fast. And, anybody who is able to go on a full fast for a day or longer, that's a really healthy thing to do. So sometimes maybe taking like a weekend and just have it be a restful weekend where you're fasting and just having water. And if you're not ready for that, like I said, maybe some intermittent fasting or half a day of fasting is a great way to still give your system a little break and kind of reset and rejuvenate your energies.
I've heard so much, and lately I've been practicing is eating earlier and ending about 6, and then
Hmm.
I'm hungry in the morning, so that's a good
Yeah.
sign, correct? When you hear
Yeah.
when you have the hunger pains, then you're
Yeah, definitely. I've never been a hungry in the morning person, but I just for whatever reason that's how I've always been. And so I just honor my body that way is I just since I was in my teens, I don't really eat breakfast. And even as a kid, I didn't like eating breakfast. And it's interesting because both of my sons are like that from a young age, and my mom's like that. So I'm like, I don't know if there's some genetic component or we're just all just very similar in that. But if you're skipping a meal or eating less, I think that's healthier than what we've been seeing in our world where we're being pushed to eat, 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 and snack, 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 and more, more, more. And what it's done is create more health issues, more problems. We have more obesity, more diabetes, more cancer, and more chronic illnesses than ever before. And so eating more isn't necessarily helping us. I think what we need to do is maybe eat a little less, put less on our plates, snack less, eat more nutrient dense food, less of the processed things, get more out of our food instead of eating more, make the meals more nutritious. And everybody has a different metabolism. So I'm a person that eats twice a day and doesn't really snack, or someone else might have a different metabolism and they need to eat a little more than me. That's okay, but make it healthy, make it nutrient dense. It doesn't have to be as, piling it up on your plate where it's enough to feed like 3 to 4 people. Just remember our stomach is not that it's not that big. It's we don't need to stretch our stomachs out, just enough to nourish us and to help us feel satisfied and healthy in our bodies.
I know as someone who was growing up, my mom said, eat everything on your plate. Nowadays, you go out to a restaurant and it's the biggest portions I've ever
Yeah.
seen. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we don't
great.
always have to eat all of it.
No, we don't. And if we leave a few things, China and others in other countries will survive somehow, right? That old
Yeah.
eat because poor kids in okay, never mind. So, oh my gosh, I want you all the time. It's just like you're my go-to. So thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining me today on this holiday season. I know people might be struggling with different things, but there are ways to keep yourself happy, whole,
Mhm.
and healthy this coming ending
Yeah.
2025. Let's go into 2026, Sarah, with a better idea with the tools that you've been giving. Uh,
Yeah, we have a new year ahead of us. And
we've
so
got
we
a
have
new
this
year.
this opportunity to kind of make a choice to make healthier choices throughout the year if we feel that we need to do more of that. Just that whole idea of like the New Year's resolution. I know some people love it, some people don't, but I think it's, any time that we can have a New Year resolution or new resolution at any time of the year. But that idea of just kind of starting afresh, I'm going to do things a little differently. I'm going to dedicate this year to being healthier. I'm going to dedicate this year to helping reduce stress in my life. I'm going to dedicate, my time to make healthier meals than I have. I think that's a wonderful thing to make commitments to ourselves. And even if we don't 100% keep up with them, to remind ourselves and come back to it. It's, that we made an intention and a commitment to that. And so trying to create a healthier 2026 for all of us, less stress, more health, more joy, and doing our best to get through the holiday seasons with peace and calm and happiness and not letting things get to us where we're feeling stressed, and also making healthy choices with our food. And we're going to feel better after the holidays end if we do those things.
Yeah, and stop watching the news, y'all. All right. Well, this is Jill Lynn from One
I
Heart
don't ever
TV.
watch the news, so
I
I
know,
gave
but
that up a long time ago.
I know
Um,
that even when I flip the channel from the Hallmark, it's like, ah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and I was in Egypt and I had no idea things were going on. And, it was truly lovely.
Nice, isn't it? I always figure if there's something really big going on and I need to know about it, someone's gonna tell me about it.
Yeah, that's
I'm gonna
true.
know about it. Yeah.
All right, y'all. This is Jolyn from One Heart speaking again with Zara. We are gonna be back, I'm sure, at some point. I've got some new videos coming down the pike. And again, what is that event one more time? After
Ah, the
Thanksgiving?
Field to Heal. Yes, that is, like I said, I have it right now. I'm going to share it on my website. Dr. Liz Burkhart is the one that designed this. And so it's through her website, actually, where most of it's posted right now. But if you go to my Facebook page, I shared it there today, and the link is there and an overview of everything that's going to be happening. But that's a really wonderful event. And so anybody who's navigating a cancer journey, this is a really, really wonderful opportunity to learn some ways to navigate that, and to bring in emotional healing, and to bring in other tools to really make it a holistic journey so that you can get the best results, and have, the best you throughout that process. And so I really encourage anybody that's able to join that. It'll be a wonderful, wonderful program.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I will put
Yeah.
it also in the link below. And again, this is Jolyn from One Heart TV. Thanks for joining us today. And Zara, always a pleasure. We will catch up in another video. Let
Yeah.
us let
Yeah.
us know in the comments once again what you would like to hear from Zara. She's here for you and she wants to give all that love to you this year. All right. Take care. Thanks, Zara.
Yeah. Happy holidays, everyone. Be
Happy
healthy, be
holiday.
happy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.